Tacidar is going to be the red Protoss up here in the top left corner of Entombed Valley. And way down here on the bottom right is JonnyREcco, the guy who's won the first 2 games. He is the pink Zerg.
Yeah, and Tacidar, as we mentioned before, good GSL experience within Code for a very long time. Very, very good Protoss player. Was kind of, you know, one of their GSTL standouts for quite some time. See if he's able to get things done here on Entombed Valley, which is, many would say, the best Protoss map in the pool. I always like Ohana for that, but now that Ohana is used, obviously Entombed Valley is the next choice. I'd imagine it'd be a Forge fast expand, of course, especially with that pylon position. But will JonnyREcco try to get up to fast 3 bases himself on this map, knowing that that's probably what Tacidar is going to do?
It's very possible, and one interesting thing about Entombed Valley that sometimes comes into play is that Xel'Naga Tower that the probe just walked past. Because the area around it is so wide open, sometimes you will see massive battles go on just surrounding that area, and because it's cross-position, they're definitely going to be walking past it quite a lot. So keep your eyes open for some epic battles potentially in the middle. Obviously, it looks like Tacidar is going to get a look around JonnyREcco's base. Not going to see any timings, obviously, because there are no chances for him to drop a pool. Now it's going to drop the pool at 15 drones. We saw this in the first game as well against Brave, where JonnyREcco just waits to get that hatchery because he doesn't feel like dealing with annoying probes and their pylons when trying to drop a hatchery.
This looks like it's actually going to be a 17 Nexus from Tacidar. Not the, you know, oh, wow, no, tricked. 16 Forge.
Just a late Forge.
That's, I always wonder, this has happened a few times now when we've been casting games. I don't really understand the super late Forge. If you're at that point, just go Nexus. You can wall off pretty quickly. It's not really that risky. Or if you do want to go Forge first, just build it a little bit quicker and you can be even safer. This kind of in-between thing doesn't make sense. Does get the pylon block on JonnyREcco, though. And as we mentioned in Game 1, he is not sending that drone to the third base. He's just going to wait and kill the pylon.
Yep, and there is the Nexus finally from Tacidar. So that was a little bit delayed. Obviously, he had around 400 minerals when he dropped the Forge. Could have built it at 150. So he is actually slightly behind in his build. You can see a second pylon. He looks like he wants to build a cannon, doesn't know exactly where.
He's trying to get his Sim City right. He didn't want to mess up, you know, the Gateway's Cybercore block.
Of course not.
But he does get it down, and JonnyREcco, after a slight delay, does get his natural down as well. A little bit behind the Nexus, but still in pretty good shape. Not the most delayed hatchery we've seen.
It looks like the pylon must have gotten canceled, and these Zerglings are going to find the probe and potentially chew it down pretty quickly. Yeah, there he gets a nice probe kill.
Oh, and he hit the drone as well.
Oh, yeah, that was good. Sending across that third base a lot faster than we saw in the last game, especially as it was around the 9 or 10 minute mark before he actually dropped that third on Ohana. But Tacidar obviously trying to get his wall off eventually. Once that gateway's done, he can drop the Cybernetics core. I believe he can get a full wall off with just a Cyber core here.
Yeah, I think so, maybe but not. Maybe actually Lings, I think, can get through the middle of that. I don't really... Okay, well, so he's actually leaving a hole for it, because Lings can get between a gateway and a Cyber core if you wall it that way. Zealots can't, which is something interesting to note that Lings can get through and Zealots can't. But nothing out of the ordinary so far. How many does Tacidar have? The 2 gas build, or does he have 1? It looks like he has 2. So
yeah, it's 2 at the moment.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure what he's going for yet, but obviously JonnyREcco switching things up a little bit from the last few games by going a very, very quick 3 base before 5 minutes even.
Yep, and Tacidar does his due diligence. He finds the third base as it is still going up, and it's always weird seeing Zerglings run in single file because it looks like they're like biting each other's tails the whole time, but
it's tasty, man.
Yeah, I think JonnyREcco just did a little tip that Axlev has mentioned to us before, where you just kind of stutter step the Zergling ahead of the probe, and you can kill it a lot easier.
Kill it a lot faster.
That looked like he was microing
this
that intentionally.
Is a Twilight Council for Tacidar, so we'll either see most likely Blink Pressure or possibly Dark Templar. When you go Dark Templar, especially on this map, it's to secure your own third base to kind of keep the Zerg contained. It's not to do any kind of all-in or anything like that. And he's saving quite a bit of gas, so I think that's probably what he's going to go for right here.
Yeah, he could build a hidden probe down here. Could also build a Dark Shrine down here.
Yeah,
just to
seen
hide
that
it.
plenty of times.
So we'll see if he tries to do
there
that.
There it is, Dark Shrine. So it is going to be a DT expand for Tacidar.
very interesting. I'm not sure if JonnyREcco is going to be prepared for this. I haven't seen an Evo chamber yet. Actually, nothing aside from that spawning pool and 2 hatcheries. He hasn't really built anything at all.
But he is going for his quick lair again. He's done this every single game, so he is going to have an Overseer out in plenty of time, assuming that he actually remembers to build. And a lot of times you'll have people get up to the lair and not build an Overseer, and that can be an issue. But he's also gone for double Evolution Chamber in most of the games he's played as well. So, you know, I think he'll be okay, but it'll just depend if he's really cognizant of the fact that DT Expand is still actually a build. I mean, it's not that common, but it's really not that rare either.
No, you see it every once in a while, and he's not making any use of his forge aside from that first cannon. Still no upgrades. Upgraded DTs can obviously be very, very scary for Zerg players, because even if they have a Carapace upgrade, upgraded DTs will be able to cleave through drones and Zerglings incredibly quickly. I hear some clawing going on. Oh yeah, the rocks between the natural and the third. Obviously, JonnyREcco wants those taken down so he can respond as fast as possible for when these DTs or any other gateway units happen to show up at his natural.
Yeah, I really like the double pylon, because a lot of times those Zerglings will, you know, scout 1, and they'll scout around bases and try to find those proxy pylons. So having 2 is going to ensure that the DTs get there pretty quickly. Warped in 4, very good timing. We'll see if he decides to send all of them to 1 base or to multiple bases, but JonnyREcco already has an Overseer up.
Yep, he's definitely going to split these. The Overseer's at the third, too bad for Tacidar, so JonnyREcco knows exactly where the bulk of these are. The last one is going to head into the main. This Overseer will be done soon, but there's no fighting units here to even deal with these. They're actually going to chop down this hatchery incredibly fast.
Yeah, there are no units at all. He started building 14 roaches as soon as he saw it.
Oh, is he not going to? Okay.
Oh, but it's too late. He does get that, and that DT has 7 drone kills.
Oh my God.
And so very good damage by Tacidar.
Yep.
And now JonnyREcco, he's not really behind so much, but that did a lot of damage to him.
He's kind of behind. I mean, he lost 8 workers and a hatchery for the price of 4 DTs. I mean, we can look at resources lost, actually, just to be sure. But, yeah, the resources are incredibly close still, so the value of those High Templars obviously is very high. He's going to take out both of these pylons as the Overseer flew over both. And now Tacidar's presence on this side of the map is all but gone. Yeah. And DTs are not going to have that surprise factor ever again.
And he definitely is going to have to transition from this. He's transitioning into a 2-base blink all-in on 7 gates. So he's hoping he did enough damage with that DTs. You know, usually you want to secure a third with a DT expand, but this was just a DT to set up a 7-gate blink all-in. However, his +2 is delayed. You almost always want +2 for this push, and he's just now getting +1. I don't think he's going to want to wait until +2 finishes to do this push, and he might not even get it because he can't really get it before it's time.
All these poor drones distance mining. Poor stupid drones. They don't even, they could just wait, or they could just mine from the other mineral field.
It's their duty, man. Yep. They have no choice but to remote
They're
mine.
programmed from birth to return minerals automatically.
All right, so he actually did put down a Nexus, which is, I find the fact that he went up to 7 gates before Nexus very odd, because you really can't support 7 gates while you're expanding. It's kind of
But
odd.
Can you support 10?
Apparently you can support 10.
Yep, why not? So easy.
He does have a pretty high worker count, so he has 2 bases pretty much completely saturated with those 66 probes. That's, you know, quite a number. And we'll see exactly how he wants to handle the situation now that he's facing a 3-base Zerg with 3-base Protoss. However, JonnyREcco, being the smart person he is, has gone up to 4-base, knowing what Tacidar was doing.
Yep, and this DT is going to find it pretty quick. Overseer already waiting, so he could actually see that DT on the way. Yeah. Not actually doing anything about it at the moment. All these roaches are forced to return home so that they don't lose too much. The DT does get fungled. Nice move there.
Yeah.
And that's going to actually finish off the DT before he can get any damage done. More DTs getting caught in the field by this Overseer. I bet he wishes he had anti-air so he could kill that Observer as well. But he is actually just going to return home for the time being. They are in vision of this Observer, so he needs to be careful with his troop movements.
Yeah, and it looks like Tacidar is going into Robo Bay, so we are going to have that traditional Protoss Death Ball coming up. He is getting +2 now, and we're going to see a few Colossus with a massive ball of Sentry, Stalkers, and Immortals, which is very deadly against Roaches. Even adding, but JonnyREcco is adding Infestors, which is going to help a little bit, but As you see, he's building a Spire because he knows he's going to need Corruptors to fight this off, because just Roaches alone is not enough. Also, 6 Spine Crawlers as soon as he saw that coming up. But is it going to be fast enough is the question.
Is it red and blue? Anyway, we have lots of Infestors hitting the ground now. We could actually see a build similar to what we saw in that last game against the Terran opponent, which was a lot of Corruptors and Broodlords. That's also going to be able to work out pretty well in this scenario. He has way more Roaches, obviously, this time than he did last time, but a good fungal
nice
there,
fungal.
catching the sentries. That's always nice. It basically strips the shields entirely and does a little bit of damage. Force fields going down, segmenting this Roach Force. That's a lot of Roaches being held out right now, but there's quite a lot of energy still remaining on the Infestors. It looks like at least one Immortal is going to get picked off, and now that the Force fields have ended, all these Roaches are still pinned back there, so those were actually really good. Tacidar just needs to be careful now with his Blink Stalkers. He's going to try and micro them to the best of his ability. Lings are going to help out JonnyREcco against that. The last Immortal, actually no, one more Immortal still standing, but it looks like his force is actually still pretty formidable. Not enough energy on any of these Infestors for a fungal, so we're going to see some Infested Swarm Eggs instead. Tacidar has potential here to be able to take out this hatchery if he's careful with these Stalkers that he continually plays back.
JonnyREcco might have to give this up. He is producing a lot of Roaches, about 8 to 15 at a time, but Blink Stalker's doing very well. Tacidar's trading very well, and he looks like this is dead even right now, so close. As soon as, though, that JonnyREcco gets some energy on these Infestors, the fungals will help, but he keeps using eggs. I don't agree with this at all. Bring some more Spine Crawlers over to try to fend this off. He does not want to give this up. And Tacidar does take the base and blinks out without losing any more Stalkers.
I can't believe Tacidar has such a large standing army. He's actually ahead of JonnyREcco in Harvesters. That's kind of crazy to see, especially at this point in the game. But especially on 3 bases, that's actually really bizarre. But either way, so many Stalkers there against an equal size of Roaches and Lings. The Roaches actually only have 0-1 upgrades. JonnyREcco has 1-1 on melee. These guys outfitted with +2 attacks. That actually makes more sense now when we saw how that battle went with those mass weapon upgrades. You can see him going up for 3-3 now, and Warp Prism speed actually coming along.
This is also really cool. Almost at the exact same time, JonnyREcco going for Greater Spire and Tacidar going for Stargate. So gonna go for Void Rays and gonna go Void Rays to counter the Broodlords that would be coming out for JonnyREcco. Identical thinking at the same time. 9 Corruptors coming out for JonnyREcco. Obviously, most of those will become Broodlords, but some of them will probably stay Corruptors just to deal with the Colossus.
All right, we'll take a quick look around Tacidar's base just to see how everything's looking. Yep, Fleet Beacon right there. JonnyREcco is actually going to attack in with these Lings before the Fleet Beacon is going to be anything that he needs to be concerned with. There are no cannons inside the main mineral line, so he could actually have an opportunity to kill some probes. It looks like he's still kind of deciding what he wants to attack here. The Roaches are dipping into the front, trying to take out the Forge before +3 finishes.
Nice.
That's nice, but all these Stalkers are definitely going to be able to kill this small number of Roaches.
Getting the +3 is really important. It's something NsHoSeo did for Acer several times. He would come in and snipe Forge before +2 finish, and it was really important in delaying his opponent, and getting before +3 finish is equally important, especially when you have that mothership with the Stalkers and Colossus.
All right, Tacidar clearing out some Changelings. Looks like he does finally want to take his 4th base. Not a bad idea at all. As far as we look at income right now, it's 80 Harvesters for Tacidar. That's a crazy amount.
A lot of workers.
And 74 for JonnyREcco. All these upgrades still rolling for both players. 5 Broodlords coming in now, 1 Colossus at a time. I thought I saw Warp Prism actually already made. That was just an observer near JonnyREcco's base, though. So I haven't actually seen.
Yeah, I saw one get made. Yeah, I don't. He might have canceled it.
I think he actually did. I was watching it and he built. I think he swapped.
He is
Colossus.
making one now though, and that'll be used for DT warp ins. And one of the things Zerg players have to watch out for the late game is those DT drops sniping the Greater Spire. That can be really devastating when you have a bunch of Corruptors that you need to be Broodlords and you can't make them because your Greater Spire gets killed. And then you have to remake the Spire, which takes almost 2 minutes, and the upgrade for the Greater Spire. It's a lot of wasted time.
All right, 4 more Broodlords coming in. That's going to put him at 9. Actually, no, 6 more coming in.
At 11.
We'll put him at 11. That's a crazy amount of Broodlords. Here they are in a big cocoon ball here with the rest of them just staring and they're like space manta rays. They just kind of do backflips and stuff when they're idle.
Yep.
Warp Prism is on the move now. It does have gravitic drive or gravitic thrust or whatever it was called, the Warp Prism speed upgrade.
It's fast, guys.
Yeah, it's
fast.
A quick Warp Prism. And who did we just saw someone use this with great effect. Oh man, the Infestors are way on top of this.
Fungal. That's actually really fast reaction time.
Very nice.
Very well done. He is getting, now it seems Tassadar is getting charge as well, and Templar Archives, and he's getting his +3 again. So the tech tree unlocking completely for both players at this point. JonnyREcco making more Corruptors and getting Neural Parasite, so we might see some Slush-style neuraling on motherships. Always love when I see that.
And people are starting to get a little irritated by PvZ late game. Hero had a GSL series against Lenok recently that kind of ended in some controversy because Hero played so well throughout the game, and then Neuraled Mothership basically sunk it. So there is some contention right now among a lot of top Protoss and Zerg players about the way that late game PvZ has basically been fleshed out.
Well, it basically comes down to how good your Vortex is and who gets the Vortex off.
No, but they're arguing, Protoss players at least are arguing that Neural Parasite should not actually work on the mothership at all because it is such a huge mechanic
an important part of
to balance.
It is,
And the Warp Prism is actually going to get in successfully this time. No Infestors to stop him this go around. We got 5 Zealots and a DT coming in here to try and wreck house on these drones. But he is actually going to come back and respond with a lot of Infestors.
He's going to lose a few drones. Actually, I like that. He morphed them into buildings so that they couldn't be killed as quickly.
And then he can cancel them.
And then cancel, maybe? Or I guess he's just going to leave them 1 spore, 1 spine. Or 2 spines.
He has the option. He went into the main with a couple of DTs as well, and the Warp Prism got taken out, but these 2 DTs are still standing, so he's going to actually have to respond to that at some point. Tassadar doing a good job with his harassment. Any harassment
nice transfuse on the Queen there.
Yep, nice last-second transfusion. Still,
but it still
not going to matter.
Anyway.
But, transfusion the Roach Warren, so it doesn't die. Spinecrawler cleans up that DT. These Spinecrawlers clean up the other one. So that drop has finally been dealt with. And JonnyREcco can get back to focusing on whatever it is he was focusing on.
He's up to 6 base now.
55 Harvesters, that's it after that attack.
Well, he's banked so much that he doesn't need that many more, but he is going to need probably a few more to keep up production.
Look at this Observer just blending in so well with the Broodlords.
Look at all of those Broodlords, 4 more being made. How many is that total?
Right in this clump we have 16. Yeah, that's all 16 right there on the map, and there will be 4 more. So 20 will be 20 Broodlords with no upgrades, 1-1 upgrades.
And Tacidar just built 3 more Stargates.
Did he?
So I don't know if that's going to be Void Ray or Carrier, but a lot of air is about to come out as soon as they trade armies. Storm is now done as well. +2 air for JonnyREcco is going.
That's a lot of Broodlords.
That's a lot of Broodlords.
We do have this Warp Prism kind of making its way across, but JonnyREcco not going to waste any more time now. He's at max, essentially, so he is going to move in with all these Infestors and Broodlords. This is going to be the slowest push ever. Tassadar actually does have DTs actually scattered around his end of the map to be able to watch for this. And some gateway units are actually going to press in here. I don't think JonnyREcco is going to care, though. He's actually just going to press full forward, I think, with the force that he has here.
Yeah, and I like what Tassadar is doing. A lot of times in the circumstance, you're like, well, there's no way I can engage that army, so I'm just going to try to base trade. It looked like he was about to, and then decided to go back. And JonnyREcco also going back to defend. He's
not really going to be able to go back all the way, though, with that force. So what he's going to have to do instead is make, a bunch of Lings and Roaches, things that can pop out and be immediately effective. These Spinecrawlers, obviously, were a nice touch to try and keep those hatches alive as long as possible. But these Zealots basically have no counter at the moment, so the Warp Prism is going to continue on, probably do another round of Warp-ins here. And you saw JonnyREcco just saw some pink clicks, so it looks like he is going to be able to respond to this. The Broodlords are somewhat in position. The fact that they're so fat and can't stack up means that they are actually not all going to be in range at once. Oh, a big round of Warp-ins for Tassadar. This could be scary for him because if these don't kill the hatcheries, suddenly he's going to be down a lot of possible Warp-ins to come save his own bases.
Yeah, he is. He's committing a lot to try to get this 3rd base down. It actually looks like he's not going to quite get it, and the Warp Prism got taken out by a Corruptor. However, he did manage to get that base with Zealot, But this base for Tacidar has already been completely sacked.
Yep, so both players losing one base so far. This 20 Broodlord force is still sort of uncountered by Tacidar. If you look what's actually in the air right now, it's just a mothership. I mean, there's not a ton of anti-air. 15 Stalkers. Obviously, the Storms could be very, very effective.
Yeah, but you have more Broodlords than Stalkers. Like, when you have a ratio like that, you're going to want some more anti-air.
Not to mention all these infested Swarm Eggs that just hit the ground, clearing the path for the rest of that Zerg siege push. We do have a lot of Zealots. He's still just warping these guys in. They have +3 weapons, +1 shield upgrade, actually, which is kind of interesting.
No
but these
armor,
Spine Crawlers are enough to hold this.
Yeah, because he's made so many Spine Crawlers, he's well protected, but he is running out of money. Tacidar has banked almost 4K with 2K gas, but JonnyREcco has almost 4K gas, but very few minerals, relatively speaking.
Oh, now we see 4 Void Rays in production. The mothership is very nearby. These High Templar are going to be able to storm. Let's go ahead and select all the Broodlords. Actually didn't do too much, and he stormed a little bit early there. Didn't actually hit the Infestors very well either. There are actually there is a small contingent of Broodlords just taking care of the northeast here. Yeah, only 4 Broodlords. I mean, they have no support, but that's okay. They're just attacking buildings. We still have just random Zealots attacking all over the place. JonnyREcco down to only 42 Harvesters, but that's more than Tacidar has at this point.
Yeah, Tacidar lost a ton of those Broodlings that killed the 4th and 5th base. And actually, Tacidar is no mining right now. It's not going to matter that much simply because he has such a large standing army, but as soon as his resources run out his 3rd, he gets, well, he got a few. He didn't get that many.
He didn't even get the bulk of them.
He got there were 21 of them, so he got 11 of
just
21.
fell in there.
But yeah, Tacidar actually not even going to go in.
Yeah, he doesn't have any way to follow this up. He just wanted to delay this attack. Now that he's entirely contained over here, he needs time. Yeah, he needs time for these 1/1 Void Rays to be able to deal with this. There's no Corruptors, really, maybe a couple. Oh, actually, there were some in the mix there. It's just really hard to see. So they will be able to actually attack these Void Rays pretty quickly, especially if they use their Corruption, which they are not. But the Broodlords are in position now. Yeah, this is just merciless amounts of Broodlings here.
Yeah, at the same time, Tacidar just throwing Zealots at JonnyREcco's 4th base, and he actually is going to be able to take that out. But
well, he's killing a bunch of Spine Crawlers, that's for sure.
He can't really do a lot at home, and now the Void Rays are all dying to the Corruptors because they were focusing on the Broodlords too much, and now he just doesn't really have a good way of engaging this force.
We still have a lot of
another
Infestors.
wasted Vortex.
I'm not sure how many Archons actually managed to slip in there. We'll see if it's actually going to be a big deal or not, but it's still so many Broodlords. And a good storm, they're actually going to be able to hurt these Infestors quite a lot. Oh, there were Archons in there, but then not enough Broodlords to make it worth it. They're still out in space.
And the mothership looks like it might go down to these Corruptors. It does. Not looking good for Tacidar. JonnyREcco still with a ton of Corruptors and Broodlords left.
The Zealots still going crazy down in the bottom of the map, but it's taken them so long to get this damage done that if they do base trade it fully, of course JonnyREcco is going to have a larger force here to be able to deal with this. Broodlords are starting to fall now. He's down to only 6, and only 6 Corruptors here as well. Ground forces are pretty much all gone at this point, but JonnyREcco's done so much damage. The only one Colossus standing, actually no Colossi standing now. The Broodlords can safely ping away at these Archons from that open space. If the Archons can't get underneath them, they're not going to be able to kill them, obviously. More Corruptors keep showing up, so if JonnyREcco does ever get the minerals to flip those over into Broodlords, he'll be quite satisfied. The Zealots have finished their mission and don't know what to do now, as these actually still Infestors on the ground too.
Tacidar's huge bank that was there has been completely erased. He's had no mining for such a long time, and he only has these Stalkers and the Archon left. He can't make anything. He has literally no income at all. JonnyREcco has a few minerals left at his 3rd base and not a whole lot, but he has all those Broodlords, so he's in pretty good shape, and obviously Infestors is kind of a refreshable army.
He actually doesn't have any Broodlords left. They all were killed.
Oh, wow. So he's morphing 2 more.
Yep.
Wow, very close at the end, because Corruptors obviously do nothing to ground forces. He's going to have to make Broodlords in order to try to finish this game off, because he's not going to be able to get another hatchery down for quite some time.
That's right. Both of these players actually with very, very few minerals even available to them. And you can see, let's just look at army value. So army value is still definitely favoring JonnyREcco with this huge mass of Corruptors and Broodlords.
Yeah, the problem is that most of them are Corruptors, and that the amount of Stalkers that Tacidar has with the Archons is actually enough to take out those 4 now going to be 5 Broodlords coming up, so he has to be very, very careful with that army.
Well, the tricky thing here is these Broodlords are actually on the fringe here where Archons can't get underneath them, but they are at a range where they can actually hit the Nexus. And of course, JonnyREcco always has the option of making Lings, which do have decent upgrades on them, 2/2 upgrades on Lings if he decides to sink his minerals into that. If he wants, he could actually just keep mining from the distance here. From the middle
both players
base.
doing distance mining now at this point.
And he can eventually just save up for more Broodlords and just keep going with that route.
Yeah, the problem is even with Tassadar doing this remote mining, he doesn't have any Vespian gas, so he's not going to be able to make very much anyway. He'll only be able to make Zealots until he actually gets something close to one of his assimilators.
Look how few units he actually has. 12 fighting units altogether against 13 Roaches, 10 Corruptors, and 5 Broodlords. I'm not sure where the Roaches are. Yeah, they are running escort duty for these distance mining drones.
He noticed the Zealots were over there, so he had to be safe, but it does have a hatchery down now. Tassadar is going to try to get a Nexus down soon, but it's kind of a game reset. Neither one of these players really wanting to make a move.
I'm taking JonnyREcco's vision just briefly because I'm curious how often he tabs over to like the Broodlords to get them started. Actually, he didn't even tab over. He just selected them and had them start moving. Yeah, I just want to see what he sees. It doesn't look like he's too surprised by what is going on. He can see all those probes distance mining, so he knows that that's a valuable area to attack into once he gets enough, once he's comfortable with the number of Broodlords he actually has.
Yeah, so he does know exactly what Tassadar is doing. He's just kind of biding his time because he's kind of pretty far ahead at this point. With a hatchery established, he has double the supply. He has a lot of Broodlords, more Broodlords than there are Stalkers on the ground, and only those 2 Archons.
Yep, so Broodlords, 5 already, a couple more
There's the 6th
incoming.
and 7th, yeah. So 7 Broodlords to 6 Stalkers, not very good.
Yep, I think he is probably going to form all this up, maybe around here, all of his ground forces that he's got, all these Roaches, as well as the Broodlords and Corruptors. He wants to get these all in one cohesive unit so that the armies do match. He's just going to be able to wipe them out and continue on into the probe lines and stuff uninterrupted. But this game, 37-minute mark right now, and still extremely low economy. 20 Harvesters for JonnyREcco against only 26 of Tassadar.
Yeah, and the problem is that Tassadar has been distance mining well now.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. Might be the last fight. Yeah, he's just going to chase him down. He's not going to let him get away. That Archon is going to fall with another few hits from the Roaches. Oh, he actually backs off. I'm surprised about that.
JonnyREcco, he just wanted to get his Broodlords in position. Yeah, wow.
GG.
So Tassadar sees the full force of JonnyREcco's remaining army, and GG's out of there. That means JonnyREcco takes 3 games straight
Wow.
against